All right, so here we had this on checkpoint 6-1. So we have -2 c to the 5th d to the 7th, all raised to the 8th power. As we went through the fact that, hey, we need to identify when we're multiplying variables together. We have to go through when we're dividing variables. And so if you remember PEMDAS is parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. So hopefully you see here, you go, well, it's not multiplication right now. It's not division. It's not addition. It's not subtraction. Hopefully you see, hey, this is an exponent. It's being raised to an exponent. Right? So what is that property of exponents I have to do with this? So the thing is, when you're in the game and your opponent, as we talk about, our opponent gives us, they come out and they're going with their play. This is their play. Do you recognize this? And making sure that you know the difference between division of variables and multiplication of variables. Now this is actually, I don't want to confuse you too much. It is a special sort of multiplication because you're actually taking this group and you're multiplying it 8 times. But there's a shortcut so we can do this quicker. Now you must remember this. You must. Each of these pieces, so my next step is I always do this to remind myself, is that I separate these into individual, quote unquote, I call them pods. So it's -2 times c to the 5th times d to the 7th. So I kind of rewrite it like this, and I recommend you do this. So it's -2, and we have to remember it's a number, so it's -2 to the 1st power. And it's multiplied times c to the 5th power, multiplied by d to the 7th power, and all of them are raised to the 8th power. Now here's where you have to remember the difference. When we're multiplying exponents, when we're multiplying variables of the same base, you add the exponents. When you are raising variables, you multiply the exponents. That you have to know that. It's like when I was like, anything divided by itself is 1. You have to know that. All right, so what I do here is I do this for each individual, because now these are all multiplied together. I can now multiply this 8 to each one of these. It's almost like the distributive property. So now I have -2, 1 times 8. C to the 5 times 8 times D to the 7 times 8. It's like Frank, that's a 7. So this becomes -2 to the 8th times C to the 5 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40. D, 7 times 8 is 56. Obviously, if you don't know your times tables, you just put this in your calculator. So you just put in calculator 5 times 8 and 7 times 8, 56. Now, then you put this in the calculator exactly how I did it. You notice I made sure I put it in parentheses. Make sure you always do that. Put them all in parentheses, you won't make any mistakes. And I think negative 2 to the 8th power, somebody double check my math on this. I am pretty positive that is 256. Positive, because a negative times a negative is a positive, all the even things. So I think you end up with 2, somebody check me, C to the 40th. Is that correct? Negative 2 to the 8th. Make sure you put the negative 2 in parentheses, please. Did you put the negative, did you do parentheses, negative 2 parentheses? Because if you don't, you'll get it wrong. Yes, because that's what you folks do. Because you don't remember that if you raise a negative number to an even exponent, it's always going to be positive. So this is the final answer. All right, so you have to remember all of that. To remember that that's what happened. That's how it works. All right, we're going to try and do an example. Well, actually, an example. Let me give you one to try yourself.